do so?
This week, my property was driven across with Dave Gemmel's manure storage truck onto our property, and he left damage on our property. Very large tractor tire ruts, and the manure is run off onto our property. I have a big container here that came off of our property, and I have pictures of about a 10-foot by 1.5 foot.
He gathered some of that.
Puddle about this high.
There's a water bottle so you can see how big it is.
Like that on our property. And I want to know what's going to be done about it.
You want to call the conservation?
Well, we called the emergency line for DEP. They said somebody was going to come out on the next day, that they were going to call me. No call. I've sent 2 calls to them. I've sent pictures, which will not be allowed when you send DEP pictures. They don't want pictures. You can't get pictures to DEP through the mail, through email. No response back from them. So, I mean, if I was to drive on a farmer's property and put tire marks and dump manure on farm fields, I would be in a whole lot of trouble. And why is it okay for him to drive 15 feet onto my property back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and spray when he's not supposed to be spraying, so it runs off into a huge puddle like that onto our property? I wonder how much hepatitis E is in there that I was infected with while I lived there. You know, we had to leave our home because doctors told us it was too dangerous to live near.
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately as it may seem, we don't have any ordinance dealing with the spraying of manure.
Well, I would like to suggest a HELPA ordinance. This has been going on for a while.
We have some ordinances regulating Cafos, and we have Section 336, which we're in the process of upgrading, or down, whatever you want to call it, but amending to take into account more recent state legislation. But that does not deal with the spreading of manure. The spreading of manure, I think, is exclusively under state jurisdiction. So you really got to call the state, DEP. They're the only ones who would have jurisdiction.
They're not doing anything. We've had complaint after complaint with DEP.
If it was a continuous matter,
harassment,
they continue day after day, then it may become a nuisance under the zoning ordinance, which bans nuisances. But as far as a single instance is concerned that's not constantly maintained, we don't have any regulations regarding that.
I can't tell you. We've had 2 wells that are ruined. You know, H. pylori bacteria, hepatitis E, the off-gassing. We've called numerous times about our streams, from the runoff going into our stream, and now he's not even going to stay on the driveway, which we allowed him to have access to our driveway, so we were nice so he could get to his field, but he's going to purposely drive across our field and overspray by our home again. And we have a house showing tomorrow. I wonder what it's going to be like tomorrow for those people to come out and see a pile of manure puddle on the property and it reeking the way it does. How are we going to sell our home?
Only thing I can say is you need to put up no trespassing signs where he's driving on your thing. And
he clearly knows he's no trespassing. He knows where the lines are. He's put them up on his property, so why can't he stay off of our property?
I can't answer that, and it might not even been him hauling, was it, or was it a contract haul?
It belongs. That's his manure from his hog.
I know, but is it a contract hauler or was he hauled?
That's his responsibility.
We understand that, and I agree, it's his responsibility. But the question was, you know, did he personally do it? Doesn't mean he's not responsible. He's responsible for where his manure goes.
Yeah, and his contractor should know that they should stay on the driveway.
Contractor is, I mean, as far as that goes, he can't push off his responsibilities onto a contractor. He is responsible under state law for the proper disposition of his manure.
Mm-hmm.
So if he owns it, I mean, I think actually there's an LLC that his son has. Eric Gemmel, I believe, is the
limited liability.
That outfit. But nevertheless, both the owner of the property and the operator, or both, of them are responsible. But David asked you whether or not you knew who the driver was, and I gather you do not.
No, it's a young boy that comes down in a green tractor with a green sprayer, because they don't do it with the large truck anymore because of the off-gassing. Because we complain about the hydrogen sulfide levels and the bloody noses, and us not being able to be in our house because the gases were coming into our house. So now they're using a tractor and a different...
But it's, basically it's a private matter that you'll have to sue him.
Yeah, you can sue him or deal through DEP.
Well, I'm coming
no
to you too, and I'm asking for some help from you, because this has become a nuisance. I mean, we've left our home.
We don't have any leg to stand on. We have no ordinances to protect it. We have nothing. So we can't do anything. And
how about a health ordinance?
We asked for that last year. Instead, it was a fundraising ordinance that you drew up that I had to call the ACLU on. Health ordinances are legal.
I mean, my child had H. pylori bacteria and hepatitis E, and then they go spray by Dan's house, and Dan's kid gets sick for months with H. pylori bacteria.
well,
How many
operations? Something you need to take up with the state.
Yes, but you can write a health ordinance for this township.
Well,
that's part of your job.
One. Now, if anybody else wants to, that's up to them.
Why would you not want to write one to protect people when we've had one farm contaminated and 4 people have had to leave their house?
You can't prove it was contaminated.
Wait a minute. There's 2 wells.
You can't prove they were contaminated. You didn't test them before.
They were tested before. She's got those.
All right.
10.2 and it went up to 25. They dug a new well. The new well got polluted. It has E. coli. They put in a water system.
We have no ordinances to protect.
Okay, well...
I'm just letting you know now,
yeah,
because we have 6 times more manure that's going to be coming from that facility, and you guys want to put in more and allow more to come in. And people's water are ruined already. The Amber Light has had to put filtration in and has had problems with their water. And other people are getting sick from their water. So, you know, you guys are dealing with 6 times more than, you know.
Well, Amber Light don't have any manure being spread next to it unless it's the Amishmen.
Well, they were talking about the chicken and the cow. That's just right down the street.
Well, that's the Amishmen.
No, they were talking about the chicken. Their problem started after the chicken, the large Tyson chicken
the old Hobble place.
came in.
Star Rock Farms.
The one across from me.
It may be spreading there on
but
the
I mean,
old Clyde Hobble place.
That is state regulated, and that's how you have to go with it.
Well, I mean, I think it would be nice if you did something. You know, this isn't going to be a huger issue in the future.
Well,
you know, I talked to a neighbor. She's got runoff. They get off. Thing after thing. There's wetlands behind her house that they drained to put a cornfield in. You know, and
they were allowed to do it.
Yeah, I think
no, they did it on their own.
Actually, you have a legal problem. Although I haven't, you know, I don't have the specific regulations at my fingertips. But I believe the state has appropriated to itself the full control over spraying of manure. And the only thing we could possibly do would be enact parallel regulations that would parallel the state regulations. But we cannot, I don't believe we have the authority to act any other regulations. Although I haven't studied those state regulations specifically with reference to the issue you are raising. But that's my impression right now.
We require the nutrient management plan to be provided and monitored for compliance in our ordinance that you're looking at tonight.
Only in for CAFOs, not everybody's nutrient management plan.
But he has a nutrient management plan.
And they're no longer a CAFO. They dropped their numbers on the permit.
But he has a nutrient management plan, I'm sure.
Well, that's what but they're unregulated now because they dropped. Right, exactly. They're unregulated. Right.
All right. Well,
can I? Look, if I can, you can hold that one.
I'll give you what, and we've took more than 5 minutes. Sure.
Okay. Well, that's her 5 minutes. I wanted to bring this up because this is all this with the rutting, and these are, so that you can see the degree, this is a water bottle. These are 10 foot long by a foot and a half wide. And there was multiples of them. This was from last year, in April. Multiple complaints for the same thing. This was spread after the nor'easter, the very well advertised nor'easter, which is not a best management practice. Same thing last year from Bear Road. Multiple complaints. This is from DEP's records files. No violation. This is from during the zoning hearing. Spraying in the middle of a blizzard. No violation. Dead animals laying out twice during the zoning hearing. No violation. These things, we have problems. Where's Michael's back after the 20,000 mortality? I had to rush him to the hospital 3 times. Diane has lesions on the brain that show on her MRI. She's had MRSA. She's had 3 operations on her nose. Her husband has been in Virginia to the doctor with the Hospital of Infectious Diseases. Mulaney was how many times to the nurses?
40 times at our school.
40 times, twice had to be
From
taken
September
the
to January.
Christopher at breakfast, where would blood just start coming out of Christopher?
My ear.
Well, he was eating breakfast. I know you don't think we need a health ordinance. There's 2 other supervisors here. A health ordinance is legal. It's part of the protection that the supervisors have, is to protect health, safety, welfare, quality of life. It does not go against Act 38. Please, there's been 1 farm contaminated already. Somebody has to protect the people, not just a farmer who's a bad actor, as a matter of fact, that repeatedly does this. He was called a non-cooperator by Michelle during the zoning hearing. This is over and over. What do you guys think about a health ordinance? I would like to see it discussed. I thought we had 3 supervisors. Comments?
That would be
And
appreciated.
what about spreading after the storms consistently? After a very well advertised nor'easter. Nobody can look at me or say anything. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
All right, anybody else have anything?
Is there a reason why we can't look into a health ordinance? Why you
Into
won't?
what?
Is there a reason why the supervisors won't consider writing a health ordinance?
Well,
I didn't say I wouldn't.
You would consider?
Janet said she'll look
I
into
did not
it.
say I would not.
Okay. John, would you consider it?
Well, it would depend on how it's worded, because the one I saw, the problems I had with the health ordinance was the fact that it increases our responsibility and takes it away from the state.
Is it
And
something?
also the county. And part of the reason I was not in favor of a health ordinance before was because York City was pushing for a county-wide health ordinance, and we fought against it because York City was having a hard time funding their health ordinance.
That was the health department.
That was a health department, right?
But it would have been, yeah, but it's...
Lehigh Township has a health ordinance. I mean, is it something that we can... Lehigh Township.
Where is that, Lehigh County?
It's by Allentown. Matter of fact, a professor from Penn State worked with them for a year to get it in place, so it doesn't go against Act 38.
Well, if you have a copy of it, I'd be happy to read
Oh,
that.
I'll bring you a copy. I definitely will. I mean, somewhere there has to be balance. We understand that, but we can't have people. I mean, can you imagine if this was your whole life's investment?
Didn't that farm have holes on it before?
Yeah, it had holes in it.
It had years ago. They had it was a 400 head, and they had closed it down. It had underground manure storage, concrete manure storage, and that was originally what they thought was leaking because it was 40-year-old. Right. Then they closed that one down and opened this one, but their water
When I
still
called
is.
DEP on a Friday because I thought we were having issues with hydrogen sulfide poisoning, I called on a Friday, and then all of a sudden, Monday, the hogs were mysteriously taken out, and I had a note on the door by the Gemmels saying they were closing the facility for repairs, and they never reopened it. And then my complaint at DEP about the hydrogen sulfide, because we had 36,000 gallons of manure 250 feet away from our house, and manure storage has over 200 different gases coming out of it. DEP mysteriously didn't have my complaint. When we went up to look at a 2,000-page file that they had for us that we could purchase for $150, the complaint was not in there.
Matter of fact, one of them were the spilling of, when he spilled on the road and it got into the water supply. None of the complaints were in that file.
It was pretty much all people in the neighborhood filing papers against, writing letters about how they did not want the hog facility, the larger hog facility, to be put in there, and their concerns about health issues.
All right, well, Janet's going to check into it, and you've heard from John, and we've heard your complaints and concerns. Now, does anybody else have anything? Hearing or seeing none, we'll move on to new business, and I see there's none. And for the old business, bar company fundraising, there's nobody here for it, is there? No. And subdivision plans, LDR and LLC, final approval, you said that's not a...
No, it's okay. It's Dollar General that's not right.
Oh.
Yeah, LDR should be, they had the agreement. I saw Janet reading a little while ago. I don't know where it went, but it's around here somewhere apparently.